Good morning, everyone. You've probably noticed that we've been a little quiet on the podcast recently. Not as many memes coming out, not as many streams. That's because someone got COVID and has been completely just debilitated for over a week. I still can't breathe out of my nose.
So you might catch that in the recording, guys, but we're very thankful for you guys being patient with us. We've actually seen some tremendous growth in the last month or so, which has been really, really cool because when you start speaking the language of the people, aka memes, people tend to respond very positively to that. So we're super excited about that. We are going to be talking about some more Marvel Snap today, guys. Honestly, the best mobile game out on any platform right now. We're going to get into it.
Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Cheers, brother. Welcome, everybody, to episode 52. Today's recording date is December 2nd, and this episode will be released on Monday, December 11th. Today, we will be discussing Marvel Snap, but first, we're going to start off with our starter questions. Make sure to stick around for the end of the episode. We do have some fun nerddom news coming your way. For our opening question today, what books have you been reading?
Considering I've been out for the count with COVID, I still haven't been able to really make a lot of progress reading. I'm kind of stuck. So I'm actually reading Mortis, which is in the Siege of Terra series, and I'm stuck. Some of the political happenings of the different Titan legions bore me to tears. I just want to see or read about big robots killing each other. I don't care as much for the politics in between.
That's fair. Super fair. I have not gotten there yet. Speaking of the Siege of Terra and those series, I had those books on a USB that I had downloaded, and I can't find the files. So I was actually planning on getting into the Siege of Terra and kind of continuing reading the Horus Heresy. I basically had to go back because I lost those files somehow. So I'm currently reading Deathfire. Really, really love this story. It's the story of Artellus Numion, who is coming. Basically, he's the only person who believes like Vulcan still lives, even though he's currently at this point, this is not a spoiler, these books are so old by now, but he's currently sitting in a casket with a piece of lightning stuck into his chest, and everyone's like, dude, he's dead. And he's like, actually, Vulcan lives. And everyone's like, you're insane, but you're our captain, so we really don't want you to snap. So and they're on their way back to Nocturne to basically follow the funeral rites that is required for somebody who is Nocturnian, which is basically cremation. And so that's kind of where I'm at in the story. Again, I have read this, so I do know what's happening. But if you haven't read it, I won't spoil it for you. But it's a really good book. I really like the Salamanders. They're a very different legion. They're kind of like the nice guys of the 40K universe. If anyone's going to be the good guys, it's going to be the Salamanders, even though they commit war crimes on a daily basis. Their favorite form of combat is war crimes. So it's like, yeah.
All they do is flamethrowers, yeah. Even for the quote-unquote good guys, they're still pretty bad.
Yeah, they burn a lot of stuff. So, but really excited about that. And still, I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before, but I'm really excited to read Murtagh. But we are in December, and it is frowned upon in our family to buy things for yourself in the month of December. That is a big no-no because someone has probably already bought something for you. So I'm not doing that, but I will probably get it after Christmas and probably bring that to work and probably read it at my desk. So that's going to be a good time.
I need to get the Aragon books. I love them so much that reading them paperback would be perfect.
I've got them if you want to borrow them, but
I know you have them.
I know the hard copy. It hits different. So we'll go right in and just get into the episode here, guys. But first, we want to make sure we thank our patrons. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Isaac. You guys are huge supporters of the podcast, and you guys are the reason we keep doing this. That being said, please consider supporting us on Patreon for just $5 a month. You can increase the quality of the podcast content we give out. We're also looking to do more things like giveaways, game servers. We have a Minecraft server that is currently live and that we're actually working on a giant Christmas space on. Actually, if you are watching this right now, you can see I am actually AFK in that world right now because you set up a pumpkin and melon farm and my character is going to harvest all of that. With all of that, we really want to make sure we get higher quality content out to you guys. We've been working really, really hard, even around our really busy work schedules, to give you guys the best content we can. So thank you guys again from the bottom of our hearts. With that, we are going to get into the show. Today, we're talking about Marvel Snap. And we're going to be talking about the January season, which is going to be the Planet Hulk season. Andrew, go ahead and start us off with kind of the main character of the January season pass coming up.
Yeah, so that's going to be Scar. So right now he's sitting at a 6'11". Scar, he's Hulk's son, correct?
Yes, that is Hulk's son. Hulk, I don't know who with. I didn't get into the lore to see who he actually had a son with. I'm assuming it's She-Hulk, either that or Black Widow. Oh wait, no, she's dead. Well, in the MCU, she's dead.
She's very much. Let's get back on track. So this card costs 2 less for each of your cards that has 10 or more power.
With a starting stat line of 6'11".
6'11". It's pretty good.
So super good. Andrew, give us your thoughts.
This card is going to be really fun. So this is leaps and bounds better than She-Hulk. You could say that about a lot of things in the MCU right now. Got him.
Dude, we roasted Ant-Man on our last podcast, and now we're killing She-Hulk. Oh my goodness. Continue.
Honestly, I'm thinking of running kind of like a Ragnarok deck with all of the Thor and Hulk variants. It just would be super, super fun. I think it'd be a huge powerhouse. This is going to be a hard card not to get in the season pass because it's really good.
It is a really, really good card. It's a great addition to a lot of different decks.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about... So right now, we just got out of the Miss Marvel season, and I'm not crazy about her. We should be going into Sebastian Shaw here in a couple days.
By the time this releases, we'll be into the next season.
Yeah, but Scar is going to be good.
I'm really excited for Scar. I think this is going to be a really interesting card. Now, I came up with a couple of different decks kind of that just came to the top of my head of who I thought this was going to play well with. So my first thought was Scar is going to play really well in a Sauron list, because here's the typical play order. If you're playing Sauron, sans Shuri at this moment, because keep in mind, she's not a 10 power card. So if you wanted to really, really ramp the power and play well in this field, you could play Sauron turn 3, Typhoid Mary turn 4. So there's one 10 power card. And you could then play Red Skull turn 5. And the nice thing is because Red Skull has enough power, he's not going to, if for some reason you don't get Sauron off, he's not going to be affected by Typhoid Mary enough for then Scar to suffer as well. And so once you have those two players on the field, you have a 411 stat line. Now, the cool thing is if you haven't played Shuri at this moment, you can play Shuri and Scar, or at least I think you can play Shuri. I can't remember if it's next turn or just next card that gets played. But you could theoretically on turn 6 play those together, and you would basically put 22 power on the board. So if you're playing Armor turn 2 and you've got Sauron, what is it? Sauron, Typhoid Mary, and Red Skull all in one location over Armor. That's so much power that like they would not be able to do that unless for some reason they hit you with an Enchantress and then hit you with a Shang-Chi. I just think that you'd be able to really, really lock down the locations, or you could even spread those out and play wide instead of playing tall. There's a lot of different options with this. I also think this card is going to play super well with Monster Island and other locations that give power. So, for example, Nidavellir, because it gives 5 power to every card, you can start ramping up these cards really, really quickly. Would be really nice. Currently, I'm kind of like playing around with my bounce deck again. I'm really struggling trying to get back up to infinite for some reason. Like, I just feel like the competitiveness in this game is super high right now. And there's been a couple of times where I'm able to get, whether or not it's Bishop, the Collector, or potentially even Kitty Pryde mixed with Elsa Bloodstone in there, getting those cards up to 10 power and being able to get like a really beefed up Kitty Pryde out with a few demons and Scar all on turn 6 would kind of be a banger of a way to end the match. So I'm pretty excited for Scar to come. I'm going to have a hard time not getting this card.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be plug and play for a lot of decks.
Absolutely. Super excited about this card. And I should say, as we're kind of finishing up the November season with Miss Marvel, I feel kind of bad for that card because I don't know about you, but I saw that card a ton in the first 2 weeks and then saw a very steep drop off. People stopped playing Miss Marvel because I think so many people were playing with cards like Annihilus and things like that. You could just disrupt Miss Marvel so easily with Annihilus. Enchantress, all those different cards. And so I think she was just getting countered to death. So I'm anticipating we're going to see a little bit of a lull for Miss Marvel. And I think once this next season comes out, we're actually going to see her come back up, because that tends to be the pattern that season pass cards go. You see them spike up in popularity. You see a lot of countering for that card. And so that card then drops down. People then are like, hey, that card's not being played. I don't have to counter it anymore. The meta kind of evens out, and then you'll see that rise and things will kind of equalize. We've seen that pattern over and over again with different cards. So we'll see if Miss Marvel comes back into the meta and see if she continues winning games. I don't have her, but we'll potentially try to get her in a season or in a Spotlight Cash unlock. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'll have to get her in a Spotlight Cash. I think she really is good. I just don't think she's real money good. I'm very much, well, I shouldn't say I'm a free to play player, because I've purchased quite a few of the season passes already, and over time I'm like, ooh, I'm spending a lot of money on this game. That's their business model.
the only season pass card I have gotten so far is Nebula, and I am mostly okay with it. This month I played a lot of Annihilus, which was really fun trolling other people, but I ended up playing pretty like cube neutral with that deck, so I stopped playing that. Coming up next, on January 9th, we're going to get kind of those additional cards released in the spotlights. And so we have Hercules coming up next. Hercules has a 4/6 stat line with the quote, or with the text, the first time another card moves here each turn, move it to another location. Andrew, give us your thoughts on an additional card to the move archetype.
Double move is really, really good. So the move archetype has not been really successful. Here's the thing. You can't set your Marvel Snap filter to move cards and then expect to get to infinite. You can maybe have some fun and get to Omega tops, I think, but you're not going to get to infinite with a move archetype. However, maybe this will change it. Like, double move is really good. And one thing that's really the move archetype is really struggling with is predictability. You really telegraph out what the moves you're going to make, and having those random cards that just kind of do whatever, like Silk and now Hercules, you kind of have a lot of this shifting, bouncing power. You don't know where it's going to land. With this, you have to be careful that you don't fill up your locations too much. So if you're going to be running this deck, don't run multiple man. He's going to fill up your locations too much, and he's going to actually hinder the movement of your characters. So get him out of there. But characters like Human Torch, Craven, Vulture, and Dagger, especially Craven, is going to get a lot of value out of this guy. And then I also put, typically the turn 6 finisher for a move deck is Heimdall, which moves all your cards, which is very good. It's also very predictable and easy to beat, in my opinion. If you've already ramped a lot of power, just throw down Living Tribunal, spread your power out, take your really tall lane, make it go wide. People aren't gonna see it coming.
I love the unpredictability of playing Living Tribunal. So, like, honestly, I don't actually have that card unlocked yet, but I really want to try that out, because I've had that problem with move. I think it's a really fun archetype. It's just you're trading fun for winnability. So, and that's kind of some of the hard things about Marvel Snap sometimes. And that's also why they continually balance the game so much. So I actually am not as hot on this card as you are. My biggest problem with move is the board space and predictability. So I did like your recommendation of taking out multiple man and just not including him in there. I think that's a really smart idea. With this being a 4/6 stat line, you'll only get 2 turns to move this guy. And in your strategy, if you're playing Living Tribunal turn 6, he's only going to move maybe once. So I think he'll synergize with Craven, but I think other than that, he's not putting a ton of stats on the board, because he doesn't gain power when he moves. However, I think he should gain power when he moves. I think he should get +1 to his stat line every time he moves, because then he goes from a 4/6 to a 4/7, 4/8, and now he's a little bit more competitive, because 4/6 is not enough to warrant that spending that much energy without benefiting other cards.
That's a good point. If you run a Hercules deck that has a very wild, random move pattern, do you run Werewolf by Night?
Maybe. I would say that would probably be, I think that would be a really good addition. I would probably have to play around with it and really kind of see how logistically how that works out, because you only have 12 spots on the board. And that's probably the hardest part is you run out of room really, really quickly. And once you start running out of room, the move deck loses its potency really quickly. Because if you do
Very
have those
quickly.
cards that are ramped, like Vulture, Dagger, Craven, Human Torch, all those different guys, if they're ramped super high but they have nowhere to move, it's like it puts a target on those characters. Like just they're like, hey, come over here and Shang-Chi me, which I know I mentioned Shang-Chi in every episode we talk about Marvel Snap because he's always relevant. Even with his most recent nerf, he's always relevant. And people are playing super greedy in Marvel Snap right now. I have had some garbage turns and hand pulls, and then I just finished the game with Shang-Chi, and I'm just like, I can't believe you guys didn't account for this. We've been doing this since day one. And it's decks that are like 10 times better than mine. They got a better draw, better play, better location advantage. And I just, at the end of the game, I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Shang-Chi and freaking a demon and something else. And then I win. So that's my biggest problem with this is just those lanes get really, really gummed up, and I get nervous. I'm like, they're going to blow my stuff up. So that's what I would do. I'm always looking. If somebody snaps on me, the first thing I do is I check to see if I have Shang-Chi in my hand, because if I don't and somebody snaps on me and I'm not feeling good about my advantage, I'm out. Like I'm not worrying about those cubes. So running this deck and this archetype with those move cards and Hercules, I would be a little bit worried if someone's like snapping on me. I'd be like, they're going to shoot me in the face. So that's what I would be a little bit worried about. So I'm kind of meh on this one, but I'm very excited to see what the Snap community comes out with and sees how kind of just, works their magic.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this happens or what happens here.
Coming up next, guys, on January 10th, we're going to get a new location as well. Our new location is the Great Portal, and the text for this one says, add a random card with 10 or more power to your hand. I think this is obviously just trying to synergize with Scar. There's not a lot of cards in the game that have 10 or more power, and so my brain is thinking, there's going to be a time when this location comes out. It's going to be the hot location for a minute. And so I might try to kind of theory craft some decks around kind of like really taking advantage of that time and getting those cubes. However, there's not a lot of cards. And one of the cards I was thinking of that kind of bummed me out that wouldn't be in this was actually Devil Dino, because Devil Dino is always over 10, almost always over 10 power.
Almost always.
But he doesn't start that way. And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, dang, that really bums me out. Because anytime like I'm playing a random game and Devil Dino gets added to my hand, I'm like, sweet, I love this card. It's one of the most powerful cards for 5 power other than Red Skull. And it's usually pretty easy to keep that power high.
Some good decks that are going to do really well with this are both of the discard iterations. So we have the Hela discard cheese. The only point of Hela discard, which is Invisible Woman followed by MODOK and Hela, is just fill your hand with really powerful cards and then play them all turn 6. That's how it works. So the Great Portal is really going to benefit that. But also just the regular discard archetype is going to do really well because you're discarding a lot of power and you get a lot of value when you discard. So Dracula is going to get a lot of use out of this.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be pretty helpful. My only counter to the Hela discard cheese, and I've ran into this, and we've had really, I should say for the listeners here, Andrew and I have had really interesting experiences using Hela discard because you took it to infinite, and I lost 19 games in a row playing it. And so I'm very salty towards this deck. I hate this deck.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't even see it that much. And it's just like, I don't know how you got it to work so much, but I really ran into the problem, even like with the correct cards, with having magic in the hand, having crystal in the hand, where you're getting every card but one. That last card, almost every round I played was either Hela or MODOK sitting in my deck.
That is wild.
And I was like, I can't win. I can't make this combo go off. Or, I would draw Invisible Woman turn 6. And I'm like, how am I supposed to make this work?
Yeah, you gotta retreat before. If you don't have Invisible Woman out by turn 4, you just retreat. Just lose your 1 cube and move on.
I was just bleeding cubes, and it was torture. So one of the things I ran into is if I didn't get enough cards, I'm worried that adding a random card to your hand might stop you from drawing. Like, so for example, if you're playing Black Widow against a Hela discard cheese, that is so much more impactful than people give it credit for, because if you don't get that draw, you're screwed. I mean, you don't know.
I usually retreat.
That's probably a good idea. So I'm interested to see that. I want to redeem the Hella discard, but I also like really don't want to bleed my cubes out. So
Not the ranked matches, but the like proving grounds and whatever it's called. That would be a better place, maybe. But the problem with that is if you get matched up with someone who can do literally anything to your deck. The discard cheese doesn't do well with hand manipulation. It does all right with things like Green Goblin. Who's the character who throws the rocks on your side?
debris.
Debris.
She's so annoying.
She does fine with that. I hate Debris. It's not even that good. It's like the payoff of filling your opponent's side is like, well, now your side is filled up, and if you're not running like Destroy or something,
Yeah, it doesn't do well with the control mechanic. I was going to say, if you have Annihilus, it's kind of fun, but it's also really predictable. So
yeah.
like they can start like filling things, and Annihilus, unless you get those negatives and fillers over to the other side, you're not putting enough power on the field to win.
Anyway, we should probably move on to our next card, which is Meek. This looks kind of neat.
This is a very interesting card.
This is a 1/1. After each turn, if you discarded any cards, gain 1 power for each and move. So this is, I think, an automatic add to a discard deck.
I would agree. My biggest concern is when they add these cards that are able to ramp really, really well, like Meek, Nebula, Kitty Pryde, these cards that are able to like really get some power on the field for a really good value. The first thing I always think of is Killmonger. I'm like, he's going to get Killmongered, man. And
Yeah.
you can't protect him with armor because he moves every turn. So if you're able to predict that and kind of see, hey, when do these actions resolve, you could really get him knocked off the board. And I love playing Destroy. I think it's a really fun archetype. And I love killing people's Human Torch, Kitty Prydes, all of those different cards. I love killing those with Killmonger. I snap on that card almost every time it comes into my hand. If I'm playing and I see that they have those cards out, because I just let them ramp. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to give you the confidence to do that. And it's super fun to take them out. I would say this would be a really fun combo if you could figure it out to play Wave and then Professor X to keep him in place. However, that's a turn 3/4 combo. And so you'd have to do a lot of discarding in turn 2 and 5 for this to really get the most value out, but would be fun. Because if you get him in a lane with Professor X, and if you've got Jeff the Baby Land Shark, then you could usually win that lane automatically.
Well, even if you Professor X and you don't get him, like you don't nail him down, then he's only moving between 2 locations, and your odds of like picking and predicting where he's going to go is pretty much certain because you know he can only move one place.
So you can make accounts for that, which is pretty nice. He's going to ramp a lot. It's going to be cool.
So yeah, the Professor X add to Meek, I think is an interesting combo. Yeah, you can have a lot of weird stuff happen with move that doesn't actually like build into the direct move archetype because it sucks.
They're working on it, but it's not quite there yet.
I really like this card. I really hope I can get this card.
I think it's going to be a fun one.
Because it's +1 for each card you discard. So if you put down Wong and start just discarding stuff like crazy, and you have like Swarm and you kind of have that value engine, your Meek is going to get huge.
Yeah, he's going to be a big boy. All right, moving on to our next release here, guys, on January 23rd. Oh, I actually don't know if we mentioned this, but Meek should be coming out January 16th. So put that on your calendar. On January 23rd, we're going to be getting Grandmaster. He is a 2/0 on reveal. Move 1 of your other on reveal cards here to the middle location. Its ability happens again. This is going to be coming out with Loki and Elsa. My immediate thoughts go to Shang-Chi and Enchantress and being able to double dip their on-reveal abilities.
You are such a Shang-Chi stan.
I absolutely am. So here's what I'm thinking here is I've had a couple of games where if I have Zabu on the field, for example, and Shang-Chi is like 3 power, and I'm able to play him and Absorbing Man at the same time, there is almost no better feeling than like deleting 2 columns of 2 lanes at the same time. So it feels really, really good. I'd be really interested to see this. I also think this is going to synergize with a ton of really, really good cards. Anything that does a good on reveal, I'm like, yeah, dude, put it in there, especially if you've got Wong in the middle and you send another card over there after it's already activated, you're going to get a ton of power on the field. So that makes me think of some of my favorite cards. especially in the 3 cost category, because I love 3 cost on reveals. I think they're really fun because that plays into the surfer archetype as well. So you've got surfer, you've got gladiator, super fun because then you're just like destroying their cards or setting them up to be destroyed later. You've got Ironheart. I'm trying to think of some other ones that are good. Wolfsbane is a good one as well because she's going to double tap that extra bonus and she's going to provide a lot of power vertically. So I think this is going to be a really, really fun card. And for only 2 power, I think it's going to be a really, really good time.
I think this is an A or an S tier card, honestly. I had initially had some pretty narrow thoughts, but that's because I'm not very creative. So as soon as I hear you being like, this is what I would do, this is what I would do, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I didn't think this through hard enough. And I definitely didn't. The first things I thought of were Doctor Strange and Iron Fist. I'm like,
oh, you're still stuck on the move archetype.
Dude, my brain is stuck in like one. Your idea is way better. I love, even though I just made fun of you, I really like being able to clear 2 lanes with Shang-Chi. I wouldn't snap my phone in half, but I certainly would think about it.
Those are usually the times where I don't even let the app go back to the home screen. I usually just kill the app immediately, lock my phone, and like usually throw it away for like 30 seconds. And I just breathe. And I just need that time to recovery.
You find the closest couch cushion and just freaking yeet it.
Pretty much. I hate getting double. I've only gotten double Shang-Chi maybe like 3 times before, but it stings. So I think this could be a really fun archetype, especially since, here's the thing. I think the theme of January is going to be power, power, power. I think people are going to get really greedy with Scar coming out, and they're going to have as many 10 power cards as possible. So Grandmaster, easily a counter. So this works very similar to the month that we just had. So for example, you have your season pass card, and then about 3 weeks into the season pass, you get a counter card. So we had Miss Marvel and we had Annihilus, because Annihilus is going to send cards over to the other side of the board and it's going to disrupt that power flow. We're getting the same thing here. We're getting Scar and we're getting Grandmaster. And I think Grandmaster is going to be a very, very strong counter to that because people are going to be trying to get out power early so they can get the best discount for Scar. So that's kind of my prediction. Is that's what I think is going to happen. We're going to have a really, really good time with this.
You heard it here first, folks. Shang-Chi and Grandmaster.
It's going to be a good time. Coming up next here, guys, the day after on January 24th, we're going to get another new location, which is Crown City. Now, the text for this one says, whoever is winning here gets +4 power to adjacent locations. I love these locations so much. The Crown City is super fun. What is it? The Baxter Building, also a really fun location. The Nexus. I love these like primary objective locations where it's like, if you take this, your chances of winning start to increase quite a bit. I love these locations because it helps people play strategically. Like if you lock those down or you have people load those locations up and then you hit it with a magic, change it to limbo and they lose their bonus. And now they've played wide they've played really tall in one lane and you can go wide at that point. I love these because it just includes an extra layer of chaos to the game. Mm-hmm. So I'm super excited about this. One of my favorite cards is Omega Red. He's terrible to play. I never win with Omega Red in the game, but I love the idea of Omega Red and Claw and like Onslaught and Miss Marvel. I love ongoing cards that just like start bleeding power to other locations. So I'd be really excited about this. Now, keep in mind here, guys, Crown City only provides power to adjacent locations. So you're going to get the best value if it's in the middle. If it's on the left or right, you're only getting +4 to the middle. So that is something to consider, but that could be really cool because if you play Crown City and it gives +4 to Baxter Building, and then Baxter Building gives +3 to the other, you're going to get some pretty wild combinations. So just keep in mind where that's at on the board.
And then you have Omega Red on one of those locations.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be wild. So I'm super excited for Crown City. Again, really, really hoping that they do this as a hot location and we can test out some different decks and kind of see what decks play best with that location.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I love locations that make the game that are positive locations. I think they make the game more fun. I don't like the negative locations. I don't like when bad things happen. When good things happen, it makes my brain go brr. It makes my brain happy.
We just went through the hot location of Turn X4, and I was really hot on that when we talked about it in the podcast. And that location screwed me so many times. So many times. I can't tell you how many times I played a one cost card on that location and I got Martyr on the field. And I was like, what's going on here? So I was not super happy with Tarnex 4, even though I was like pretty hot on it when we had spoken. Hot on it for low cost cards, I should say, not for the high cost ones. So that's
Get
just
wrecked, bruh.
Yeah, that's an amendment to my earlier statement.
We should probably move on to our last card for January. This is the card I'm most excited for. I'm more excited for Beta Ray Bill than I am Scar. I think Beta Ray Bill is super cool because I love things that double. I think it's so cool. So what it does is on reveal, shuffle Stormbreaker into your deck, and then Stormbreaker, similar to Mjolnir, or as I pronounced it when I was a child, Mjolnir, on reveal, double Beta Ray Bill's power. It's pretty good. And it's a 0 cost and it's 1 power. So you're actually putting a little bit more value on the field. Is that 1 power going to do anything? Maybe. It might. But I'm also glad that it's a 0 cost because 0 cost cards are really, really good. They do really well with Hitmonkey, who has been so mistreated. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent. We're not talking about Beta Ray Bill anymore. I'm talking about Hitmonkey. I loved Hitmonkey, and I had a great Hitmonkey deck, and I never lost. I had cards in there like Hitmonkey, Sunspot, Beast, Elsa Bloodstone, all these different cards. And I'm not even kidding. Almost every single card in that deck got a nerf the longer I played with it. I've never been so wholly disrespected by the developers because I was like, dude, this deck is money. Like, it can put out a ton of power in the last turn and people just don't know what to do with it. Like, I had Kitty Pryde and Angela in it too. They all got nerfed. I'm just listing cards that got nerfed in the last 6 months, and I had them all in one deck, and it makes me so mad. It makes me so mad.
They saw your deck specifically and they were like, that deck, make that man miserable right there.
Yes, it was a personal attack on me. It was a personal attack. If I can bob my hair real quick and turn into a Karen, it's because of me. They hate me specifically.
I want to point out that going back to Beta Ray Bill, cards that double can get super strong, super, super quick. Now, you had, in your notes, you had kind of mentioned Jane Foster as well. Really, really good addition there, because if you can get Jane Foster, Thor, Beta Ray Bill on the board, your opponent is going to be scrambling.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be trying to lock down your locations. You better have Cosmo in the deck, like all these different things. Because if you're playing all those cards at the same time, I still think Hitmonkey is going to have some great value here. I didn't even think of Hitmonkey, so I'm really glad you brought it up. But I think this card is also going to synergize really, really well. And not Beta Ray Bill, but Stormbreaker. So Stormbreaker is kind of the key here. That's going to be the one that you want to on-reveal as many times as possible. So imagine hitting that with an Arnim Zola, a Wong, a Mystique, Absorbing Man, Iron Lad, Odin. There's so many ways to bump this card up. All you need is Beta Ray Bill on one lane. So you have him over on the left lane. You've got your Wong going on the other side, or you just you have an Odin in your hand. You start stacking up different lanes, maybe keep some low cost stuff. You got that Meek right in the middle, whatever it might be. But Beta Ray Bill, if you can get that to on reveal twice, you've got 20 power. 20 power is enough to take a lane in probably like 90% of situations, because that means your opponent is going to be spending so much power on just one lane to lock you down. They're like, hey man, I either need to play Shang-Chi. I know I've said that too many times today, but if you don't have priority, which going into turn 6, you probably won't, because 5 power is not going to give you priority. They're going to be trying to get ahead of you. And if they don't, they're going to pay for it. You're probably going to have the priority advantage. This guy's going to rack up like crazy. Now, keep in mind, if he only goes off once, he goes up to 10. Unlike Black Panther, who only goes up to 8, Beta Ray Bill can get exploded from Shang-Chi immediately after one activation. So just a heads up.
Dude, we need a Shang-Chi tax.
I'll get a jar and I'll put a quarter in every time. Actually, no, let's do something cheaper, like a nickel. I'm going to run out of money real quick.
Nope, it's going to be a quarter because you need to feel the pain.
Yeah, for sure. So I've said Shang-Chi a lot, but really I love playing cards that on reveal like multiple times, and you ramp, and the deck just it just gets out of control. I love seeing those decks that are just like, hey, have you tried playing 5,000 power in one turn? It's like my favorite thing. Like if you can get a Wong Mystique, Black Panther, Arnim Zola play, I think it puts over 5,000 power on the board. It's bonkers. And you can't beat it because Wong has almost no power. Mystique is a 0. And then once you get Black Panther on there, you're like, if they're winning the other locations, you're like, hey, if you have the priority advantage, you're set up for success, and it's pretty cool. So,
however, you keep talking about Shang-Chi, in a very important card that no one plays that will do very well in this deck if you're running Beta Ray Bill, Thor, Jane Foster, and Odin. So you're running the Asgard family.
I know where you're going with this.
Ghost.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Shadow King as a counter.
Also Shadow King. But to protect your cards, Ghost. Because even if they play Shadow King, doesn't matter. You're like, fine, I'll just
yeah, because they haven't double activated yet. Yeah.
Exactly. Because controlling the priority, this is the biggest tip for players who kind of struggle. They're like, I don't know why I win, I don't know why I lose. You need to understand how priority works. You need to understand that if you are winning in a round, you are going to get priority into the next turn. So it's actually to your advantage, depending on what cards you have, to play your cards in such a way that you are not winning all the locations. I think it's like whoever puts down the most power, I think gets priority, something like that.
So I'd love to clarify this for our listeners.
Please.
So priority is determined by two things: how many locations you're winning, 1, because that's the game-winning condition, and then 2, power. So for example, if you have a location that you're tied at, which is usually 0 power, and both of you have 1 location, whoever has more power is going to have priority. If you're winning 2 locations, even if I had 100 power on 1 location, I've got Mojo World, whatever it is, but my opponent has 2 locations, they have priority because they're winning more locations, and that takes precedence over total power. Total power is the tiebreaker, just like it is in the end game condition.
Gotcha. So priority is determined basically if the game were to end right now, who would win?
Exactly. So that's really, really important. And if you don't know, it's the light up around your name. Like if you, for some reason, don't know that. So that's really important.
Yeah, it's when your name tag is glowing, you have priority. You are going to reveal first.
I can't tell you how many times I have been burned by not looking at that tag. Super, super important. I think you
Always
are putting out
check.
some really good stuff. Ghost is slept on. It's one of my favorite cards because then your opponent is honestly trying to get rid of Ghosts because they're like, man, that's super annoying. I have the priority disadvantage. Everything I do goes first, and they just don't have that advantage. So I really like that. I think that's...
And it's a 1 cost. It's not gonna overburden your deck by having this in there. You're gonna be able to get it off. You're gonna be able to squeeze it in there somewhere. And really, the problem with the Thor deck is you don't have any extra power. You're running turn 3, 4, 5, 6, Thor, BRB, Jane, Odin. No, you're using all of your power.
Pretty much.
So you're going to have to find some creative ways to get more power, draw more cards, or get cards on the field. So like cards like Lockjaw are going to be your friend.
Jane Jaw's a big one. Absolutely.
Yep. Lockjaw is going to be your friend.
Jubilee.
What's the Jubilee? I was like, what's the 4 power card that brings a card out on the field? Yeah, Jubilee
is a good one.
Psylocke. I would put Psylocke in this deck because being able to have that 1 extra energy, maybe going into turn 3, so you can play Thor, or you can play Beta Ray Bill and then Thor and then something else.
Really beneficial.
It's really beneficial, and this deck is going to really benefit from having 1 power cards or even 0 power cards. So you're not missing your mana curve, which is
zero energy cards.
Zero energy cards.
0 power is not going to do anything, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, because if you're running Beta Ray Bill, I think in the way it's meant to be, or I should say its face value way that it's meant to be played, I really like decks that really synergize and like tell a story. In Magic, those are called tribal decks, where all of your cards are like the same type of creature. I think that's really fun. That's not always the best, but it brings me joy.
Absolutely. And we do like to have fun with this game.
I do like to have fun. I'm a little uptight, but I actually do enjoy having fun.
Absolutely. To summarize here, guys, the cards that we've gone over that are all going to be coming out again in January. So cards and locations, we have Scar, Hercules, the Great Portal, Location, Meek, Grandmaster, Crown City, Beta Ray Bill. January is going to be a fun month for Marvel Snap, so we highly recommend you guys downloading this game. We do not get anything from Marvel Snap, but we like promoting games that are accessible to everyone, and this is one of the best mobile games to ever come out. So we're super excited about that. That being said, we're going to go into our news segment to finish up here, guys, where I just want to talk about the fifth book in the Inheritance Cycle, Murtag, just a little bit. I know I mentioned it in the opening questions, but I just wanted to share that it has a 4.4 out of 5 on Goodreads so far. I think that's very promising, and it makes me want to read it even more. We do want to let you guys know that as far as the Marvel's going, I have not seen it, but once it comes out to Disney Plus, you should expect us to do a review on that. So that way we're just up with everything, and it gives everyone plenty of time to see it in theaters. So that way we have a large enough spoiler window.
For sure.
A little bit of news that you guys probably heard about kind of in the general nerddom universe. There has been almost no information released about Respawn's Star Wars title that is coming out, except now we know officially it is a first-person shooter. So
Sweet.
Super excited about that. I don't know if anyone else knew it was going to be a shooter. I didn't think it was, because the games that Respawn tended to make weren't shooters, right? They tended to be other types of games. So I was really excited that this was going to be a first-person shooter. I love FPSs, so I'm really excited. That's a new piece of info for me. But again, we still have no release date, no title, no really anything. We just know that you're going to be behind a blaster at some point. We also got a big piece of news over on the Disney Star Wars side. Dave Filoni got named Chief Creative Officer in November. I think this is going to be an awesome move for Disney. If you guys are fans of film theory, Matt Pat just did an episode a few weeks ago about how Marvel needs to kind of consolidate their creative team, and Star Wars just did that. And so that way everything is a little bit more streamlined. Everything is moving towards a cohesive universe. So I'm really excited that Star Wars did that. And the fact that it's Dave Filoni is, I mean, can you hope for a better person? I can't.
Nope.
Like, it would either have
He's
to be
the man.
like Dave Filoni or like Taika Waititi or somebody like that. Or, there's a lot of good names in Star Wars right now, but I think he's top dog. So I just saw this morning, so I added this in here. There are rumors that one of the new Star Wars movies is going to be an Heir to the Empire movie directed by Dave Filoni. Ooh. And if you guys are not familiar, that is the Timothy Zahn novel that introduced Thrawn as a character. So they are going to be bringing that storyline officially into the canon, which makes sense because if you guys, this is not a spoiler because we've already reviewed Ahsoka at this point, but if you haven't watched Ahsoka for some reason, I'm about to spoil part of it. Thrawn comes back to the galaxy. And so that does set up Heir to the Empire quite well. So super excited about that. But again, that's just a rumor right now, but we will have more news on that as it comes out.
For sure. One other thing I wanted to talk about that actually isn't Star Wars, but one of our favorite genres. If you guys grew up playing Command and Conquer and Red Alert and things like that, you love the real-time strategy genre, Stormgate, which is going to be the spiritual successor of StarCraft. It's not made by Blizzard, but it's made by people from Blizzard. They're going to be moving into their closed beta here soon. I've signed up and hopefully I am going to make the cut. If you do make the cut, you have to sign an NDA. So you guys won't hear about it until after the fact, but maybe if I do 3 winks, like I made it and you guys will know, and I'll maybe I don't know, put an SOS in the background, help, I'm being held captive by the Stormgate closed beta. But I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope I get in. Really hope I get in.
That's going to be super cool, dude. And if you do, I am coming over to crash your PC and to play that out. Not crash a party, not to physically make your PC destroy itself. So, but that's going to...
It has some very delicate parts. Please be gentle.
All right, guys. Thank you guys all so much for watching. We're going to wrap up here today. Every single one of you watching is amazing, probably very talented and beautiful, and all of those different things. Make sure to leave us your theories about Marvel Snap in the comments. Share pictures of your models if you're a fan of Warhammer 40k. We love that stuff. I've been working on some orc models this week. And if you have any questions that you want featured on air, DM us on any of our social platforms or shoot us an email at talkabouttatooine@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe and like this video so that the algorithmic overlords will slice this video into the feeds of other like-minded folks. And until next time, happy snapping, everybody.